And are you refreshed? Good. Now what?
Thank you very much. My main question is about my older son, who we all thought we knew, and we're discovering that he's a different person, or seems to be a different person. And I'm wondering what I can do, other than what I am doing, to help him. I wonder if he's on drugs, or he just seems to go in and out, and we feel that he needs professional help, and he doesn't seem to think anything's wrong with him.
What makes you think that he needs help?
He doesn't tell the truth.
So everyone needs help.
He tries to manipulate people.
So everyone needs help.
Yeah.
He's selfish. He cares more about himself than anyone else.
Yes, including his daughters. And he's mean to his daughters at times.
Well, the reason that we're probing a little and playing with you a little also is because when you say, it seems that he's someone different than we all thought he was, what we are more likely to say to you is, he may have been trying to be who everyone thought he was for so long that he went out of his mind because everyone saw him different. And as he jumped through this hoop and this hoop and this hoop in an effort to please, only to discover that he was not pleasing anyone, he sort of went berserk. We see it all the time. In other words, this sort of realization that hard as I try, I cannot make it right for you. And so sometimes, especially with very strong energies, there's just a sort of whiplash response that says, forget it.
But that's actually what he did say. He says, I'm just going to please myself and my two daughters. Actually, he's not pleasing his two daughters, who think he's kind of weird.
Well, the reason that he's saying that is because he's recognizing that there's not consistency in what everyone else is asking from him. And you all sort of understand that from your own experiences, that so many different people want you to be different things. We were talking earlier about Esther's dream and her realization of how her own perspective kept moving about. And if there was anyone watching her outside of the dream or within the dream, but watching her having all of those feelings, and they did not know what her perspective was, they might have thought she was a crazy person, because one minute she feels sorry for the bear, the next minute she's throwing rocks at the bear. In other words, it's sort of schizophrenic behavior. And we say no one can understand what anybody else is doing, because no one else is privy to an understanding of where they are standing right now in relationship to who they have become. And so we don't want you to get the feeling that we're taking his side against you or your side against him. We just want you to understand that the best thing that you can do for anyone that you love is see them as best you can, which causes you to feel good. Jerry has commented through the years, as they have seen different situations with different people, often with people that they don't know. He has commented that mothers almost always love their sons, no matter how bad their sons are. And we say, when we hear anyone say something like that, then that mother is very inner being-like, because his inner being loves him no matter what anybody else thinks too. His inner being loves him no matter where he is in the stream. His inner being loves him no matter how disconnected he is from that connection. And in fact, the pain that you see expressed by another is always because of their separation between the love that they really are and what they're doing in that moment. It's interesting to watch humans. If you find someone in the street bleeding, you would want to help them. But when you find someone enraged or in depression, you don't have the same sympathetic desire to help them, because their disconnection usually causes them to be abusive as they're making their way up the stream, and now you want to abuse them back. When someone shouts at you in anger, most of you shout back in anger. You do not respond in love. Most of you have a knee-jerk reaction to their knee-jerk reaction, to their knee-jerk reaction, to their knee-jerk reaction. So a whole lot of people are just running around having responses to things instead of guiding their own experience. And after a while, sometimes the stronger ones of you say, enough. I'm not going to jump through any more hoops. I'm going to find my own way. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would look for the positive aspects of what you're seeing with your son. We would say something like, well, finally he's at the place that all of us may eventually get. In other words, do you think that your response as a human should be to give in to everyone who wants something from you and just give it? Do you think that you should find a way to make everything possible for every person that thinks that they will feel better if you will change a condition? No. Most of the world is not paying attention to their vibrational gap. Most of the world looks at that condition and likes it, and looks at that condition and doesn't like it, and then says, we need to change that condition. So your son has all of these people saying, be different in this way, and 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 be different in this way. And you can only take so much of that before you say, you do something about it. You don't like the way I am, then find somebody else to give your attention to. And we say, step in the right direction. We want you to, first of all, acknowledge that it is not wrong for your son or anyone to want to feel good. And next, it's not wrong for him to understand that he cannot be enough different things to enough different people to keep them all happy. He's tried that for years and it hasn't been working. And now, in a sort of self-survival phase of his life, he is trying to maintain his alignment. And we say, you all have that instinct to do that, but it takes a strong one of you to buck the current of the masses that are trying to get you to modify your behavior in order to please them. What most of the world is saying to others is, you should not be so selfish as to please yourself. And what they mean is, you should please me.
Okay, I can understand that, but he's not living up to his obligations financially. My other son and his wife have his two daughters.
Well, so think about this, though. When you say he's mean, and we say, if you have a pillow pressed against your face, you'll flail about in order to get some air. And when you are pure positive energy and you are at the other end of that, there's a tug of war going on inside of you that feels pretty awful. And when you feel powerless, as he has been feeling, his first step in the right direction is to get into that place of revenge and belligerence. And so, as he's in that place of belligerence, that's what we meant when we said someone bleeding, you want to help them, but when they're ornery and angry, you don't feel like helping them, even though they're in need as much help as if they were bleeding. So, as someone is behaving in that way, and they are where they are, and so there they are, and now the word's out in the family. Brother's taking care of the kids, everybody's sort of pitching in to try to support it. Nobody's happy about it, everybody's beating the drum of it. So a lot of people are looking at you and saying, we don't like the way you be. And do you know that cements that person into that vibration as long as you keep pointing and saying that? You ever had anybody say to you, I don't like the way you do such, and so you just do it more? You ever had anybody say, don't say something? And you say, I'll say it if I want to say it. You can't tell me what to say and what not to say. You are freedom-seeking beings most, and you will turn on your very best friend when they tread where they do not belong, you see. Even on your mother, even on your own children, even on your spouse. And so the thing that's tricky about all of this is that when he's good, you feel good. When he's bad, you feel bad. And then you all hold him responsible for the way you feel. And because he's a big player in your life, he's always been a spotlight, hasn't he? He's always been in the spotlight in this family. And so now you've sort of held him unfairly in the place where you expect him to do all the changing so that you can do all the responding to his changes. And what he's saying is, even though he can't consciously tell you this, I'm a teacher and I'm not going to change, you change. If you don't like the way you feel when you look at me like I am, then look somewhere else. That's what he's saying. And you know what? That's what we're saying too. Because if you say to him, I look there and I don't feel good, so you need to be different, and he says, okay. And then someone else says, I look there and I don't feel good, so you need to be different. He says, okay. So mother wants this, and wife wants this, and children want this, and job wants this, and friends want this, and this, and this, and this. And before you know it, you're upside down and all around, and you're completely lost from who you really are. Nobody likes you. You don't like you. We'd get on drugs too. It's a little bit of temporary relief, you see. So now, back to your important question, what can I do? As someone who loves him, what can I do? And we say, don't look at the disconnect as it is. Look further down the road and anticipate something different. Remember him at his best and imagine him as he really is. And train yourself. But don't do it for him, do it for you. Do it because that thought turns you downstream. Do you know there's not a thought in the world that will upset a mother more than an upstream thought about her own child? Nothing will tear you from you further and faster and harder. So say to yourself, I'm going to find a way to feel better about this, not because I'm trying to fix him, even though I have been my whole life. His whole life, not because I'm trying to fix him, but because I just don't like this feeling. And as you show yourself how you can pick a thought that feels better, you'll demonstrate it for him. Meanwhile, we think it could be a whole lot worse. And if you all keep pointing at him, he will. He can be as bad as you expect him to be, or he can be as good as you expect him to be. Which brings us to the most important part of this. You ever known anyone who was sometimes good and sometimes bad from your point of view? A child who with one person seems one way and with another person seems an entirely different way, and it is the same child being evoked from different vantage points. When you are in alignment with your source, which you practice about your son while you're not with him, practice it until you're back into loving connection with who you are. And then hold him as your object of attention. And when you do that, your attention to him will soothe him. It's like source calling him. But when you get crossways of your source, and he's the reason that you think you're crossways, nobody can stand that. You've all been on both sides of that, haven't you? Have you been adored? Don't you love it? Have you been blamed for something that you knew wasn't your fault? Isn't that unbearable? And what we're wanting you to understand is that you cannot take responsibility for how anyone else feels about you. Your son is the healthiest one in this whole scenario that you have painted for us, because he's the one that's finally saying, love me or don't, it's your choice.
That's what I came to, actually, that he was a teacher to help me. He was a gift. His behavior was a gift.
So what you say to him is you say, be as bad as you want, I'm still going to love you. And then say, and I'm not talking about that old boring mother's love that all mothers have. I'm talking about leading edge, determined to go with the flow, connect with source energy love. I'm talking about deliberately remembering who you are. I'm talking about knowing who you are. I'm talking about disregarding any behavior that you're offering, because we all offer behavior that we don't mean to offer. I'm talking about disregarding any behavior that is troubling to me and focusing upon the reality of who you are. And I'm old enough and wise enough to remember who you are. So don't come to me for sympathy about somebody not liking you, because I'm not one of them. I love you. I always have loved you. I always will love you. There's nothing that you can do that will ever cause me to not love you. I love you. So just deal with it.